What's going on, guys? This is Rob, and if you're enjoying the content here on my channel, then make sure you hit the like button and make sure you hit subscribe so you can help decide what direction the content on my channel goes in the foreseeable future. Okay, so a lot of you guys have been asking, what's the identity of the Red Hulk? Because a lot of you guys are like, I thought I knew what the identity was, but then the whole reveal, like that whole conflict changed what I thought the identity was. Nothing makes any sense. Who is the Red Hulk? Well, in this video, we're going to find out. Also, to correct a couple of questions people had from the last Hulk video we did, not everything was a hallucination in the mind of Banner. Everything up to the Incredible Hulk, so I guess all the heroes being turned into Hulks, that's all real. The only thing that was a hallucination in the mind of Banner was when he woke up and he was with Betty Ross. It was at some point between when all the heroes were irradiated with gamma energy and turned into Hulks, to the point that we saw that Banner was hooked up to the machine, and of course he had this whole illusion with Betty Ross. So everything else, like everything that's happened so far has actually happened. That's all in Marvel's continuity. It's all official stuff. So I wanted to go ahead and throw that out there because I saw a lot of people who were coming to the conclusion that everything so far was a hallucination. That's not the case. All this stuff is actually real. So what we do here is we basically pick up again with this golden helicarrier, and it's really just kind of following up immediately after all these events had taken place. Now keep in mind, the intelligentsia have the 8 smartest people hooked up to this machine. And again, their overall goal is to draw all the intelligence from these individuals, essentially make them dumb, and then use that intelligence for their own purposes. The other half of this is that while this is happening and the intelligentsia are drawing out this intelligence, we're basically dealing with these irradiated Hulks fighting each other. Now, the cool thing about this is we actually get this really badass image of Hulk Thor against the Red Hulk. And it's actually really, really cool to see because I don't know about you guys, but Thor Hulk looks badass. Like he looks so beast. And I really want to see him come back. I really want to see that happen again. The funny thing about this though, and this is something to keep in mind, these guys are transformed into Hulks, but it was a sudden process and they haven't really been graduated into it. It was not an organic change. And so essentially what happened is they had extreme strength, but they kind of lost their intelligence with it. Now, exactly how it is that Jeff Loeb and Greg Pak square that circle is not really explained here because what they're essentially saying is that when a person is turned into an Incredible Hulk, their intelligence is reduced to the point where it's, infantile, and all they have is just brute strength. They can't really form coherent sentences. They just kind of speak ad hoc, like I want this, I do this, things like that. They just can't speak very clearly or intelligently. They basically speak the exact same way that the Incredible Hulk does. Now, the other half of this equation is to more or less make the assumption that inside these Hulks somewhere is Thor. Inside Thor Hulk is actually Odin's son himself. And so much like how Bruce Banner turns into the Incredible Hulk, Thor has turned into Thor Hulk. The difference is that they don't have the ability to turn back again, or at least not of their own volition anyway. And of course, again, we'll see things go back to normal here. But the funny thing about this is, again, Red Hulk is wildly intelligent in terms of his military strategy. He's not science intelligent, he's strategically intelligent. And because of this, he basically has the Hulks start working against each other. He goes to Captain America and he says, hey, look, are you really going to let Thor get all the glory here? Are you going to let Thor be the one to beat me? And of course, Captain America steps in and says, no, I'm going to be the one to do it. Well, then Carol Danvers steps in and says, no, I'm going to be the one to do it. And so they basically start fighting each other. Now, again, what this does is really give Red Hulk an out. That's really what Jeff Loeb and Greg Pak were doing. They were saying, we need to create a situation where we can reveal the identity of Red Hulk. None of these guys are going to be the ones to figure it out. We need to give him a way to effectively slink away from this fight. Now, even in the Red Hulk's mind himself, he sees himself acting very cowardly in the sense that he's just kind of like, I'm taking the coward's way out. I really feel like I should be the one fighting here. But what he says is there's a time to stay and there's a time to run. It's that classic Art of War by Sun Tzu. If you're fighting an enemy and the enemy is more capable on their terrain, then drag them to your terrain. Make them fight on your soil as opposed to fighting on their soil. The goal should be to always give yourself the advantage. Now, the other half of this is we actually find out there's trouble in paradise here. Again, where Doc Samson's Cathaxis machine was basically the reason why it is that the intelligentsia were able to transfer gamma energy from Bruce Banner and then irradiate all the other Hulks. Doc Samson's like, this is not how things were supposed to be. This is not how they were supposed to go. Not all of these guys were supposed to be irradiated. Now, Red Hulk, of course, makes his way over to where Banner's located at because remember, he's still hooked up to this machine. And even Red Hulk himself comments, this is not how things were supposed to be. And so what the indication seems to be here is that the intelligentsia effectively duped everyone. Yes, Red Hulk was supposed to serve the purpose of capturing Bruce Banner, bringing him in as the Incredible Hulk, and allowing the intelligentsia to use the Incredible Hulk's gamma radiation in order to irradiate soldiers and turn them into your hooked out military guys. But Red Hulk basically went rogue. He went off the reservation and he more or less depowered Bruce Banner. So yeah, he threw a wrench in the works when it came to what the intelligentsia's original plan was, but it seems like the intelligentsia had always intended to do this. They had always intended to basically betray Red Hulk and betray Doc Samson in the process. And so, of course, where Spider-Man Hulk jumps into the fray, along with Wolverine Hulk, again, this is really just kind of different roadblocks coming up in the path of Red Hulk. But ultimately, what this does is allow for the reveal of his identity. And the reason why is because he does not have unlimited strength. Again, that's one of the big caveats of the Red Hulk. His strength is not limitless. Instead, he gets hotter the angrier he gets. And so because of the fact that his strength's not limitless, he's basically weared himself down to the point that Red She-Hulk can make her appearance. So the two of them essentially just start fighting one another. They really just kind of start battling one another. The funny thing about this is that Red Hulk begins to offer this explanation, begins to have this conversation, I guess this inner monologue as he's fighting against Red She-Hulk. And what he says is, he almost felt like he knew exactly who she was, even though she didn't really reveal her identity to him. He begins to muse. Maybe it was something in her eyes, maybe it was her personality, maybe it was how abrasive she was, but for whatever reason, he saw himself in her. But he wasn't 100% sure of what her identity was until she seized him and tried to kill him. And when he said, "Go ahead and kill me. If you really want to kill me, then go ahead and kill me, because I'm a fraction of who I was before. I'm a coward, I'm a wimp, I ran away from a fight, I have to ally myself with Bruce Banner, my mortal enemy." And this is when we learn that the identity of Red Hulk is in fact General Thunderbolt Ross. So for those of you guys who are wondering how it is that Red Hulk killed Thunderbolt Ross when Red Hulk is Thunderbolt Ross, we will find out more about that later on. Not only that, we also learn that the identity of Red She-Hulk is Betty Ross, is his daughter Betty Ross. When this first happened, I know by now this is old hat, this is old news. I'm sure people who were reading the Incredible Hulk run beforehand were like, yeah man, we knew that. Like, this isn't new, like this is stuff that we've known the entire time. I'm sure people were just like, yeah, whatever. But for people who didn't know, for those of you guys who've never read an Incredible Hulk story in your life, who never had a reason to go look at any Wikipedia articles or any spoilers, and who were literally just waiting on me to tell you, the excitement that you're feeling right now is the same excitement that we had before, because we were just like, I always thought it was General Thunderbolt Ross, and then he gets killed by Red Hulk. Who the hell is Red Hulk? And so it was a really well played, drawn out event. It was really well played the way it was done over the course of this, because I think by this point we're about a year and a half into the writing of Jeff Loeb and Greg Pak under their Incredible Hulk run. I'm pretty sure like the World War Hulks was kind of them finishing it out, and then that transitioned into the return of the Incredible Hulk, I think it was. But from here we switch over to Bruce Banner. Now again, Bruce Banner is still hooked up to the machine of the intelligentsia, and so his intelligence is slowly being drained away. And so keep in mind, everything we're going to be seeing here, really right up until the very end, is all an illusion. None of this stuff is real, with the exception of something that I'll point out here in a second. But something to note here, this is actually really, really cool. Something to note here is it's not like the intelligentsia put Bruce Banner's mind through absolute torture and made him endure the worst moments of his life. Now, there's a reason for this. The reason why is because whenever it comes to systems where the mind is effectively tricked, and this is actually a really, really huge talking point when it came to Dr. Doom during Jonathan Hickman's run of Fantastic Four, one of the big issues here is that if they were to subject Bruce Banner's mind to, I guess, ultimate violence, he may reject what's going on. He may say, no, I refuse to relive these, and he could transform into the Hulk without meaning to, because keep in mind, the Hulk is still inside of Bruce Banner. It's just for whatever reason, he's not able to access it. That really seems to be the indication, as it was pulled from Red Hulk, that Bruce Banner was just really kind of reduced down to his normal self, and it didn't seem like the Hulk was going to come back. What this was the intelligentsia really just hedging their bets. They said, okay, look, what we want is the intelligence of Bruce Banner. How we get it doesn't matter. We could turn around and we could subject him to the worst case scenario in terms of his own psychological experiences, but what we're going to do is we're going to give him a great psychological experience. The reason is because he won't want to leave. He'll want to stay there. The more he wants to stay there, the longer he will stay there, and the easier it'll be to extract his intelligence. And so the life he gets is a utopia. He's got, General Thunderbolt Ross, he's got a strong relation with his father-in-law. His marriage to Betty Ross is amazing. They've got 2 kids of their own. This is the perfect life for Bruce Banner, to the point that he doesn't want to let it go. He is a major pioneer of the scientific industry. Of course, the leader is kind of running the show, or at least the leader is someone they look up to. But in the end, the one desire of Bruce Banner has come to fruition, in the sense that the Incredible Hulk is no longer a part of his life. And the reason being because Bruce Banner killed the Incredible Hulk. Now, we're not really shown how he did it, with the exception of a rocket through the chest, but that's about it. But again, one of the other kickers here is that the Incredible Hulk and Bruce Banner are depicted as 2 distinctly different beings. Now, the reason why this matters is because this is Greg Pak drawing back to the Onslaught saga. It wasn't the biggest thing in the history of the world, but when the psychic entity Onslaught, which is to say the combination of Xavier's frustration with humanity and Magneto's hatred for humanity, when those two things merged into a singular being and Onslaught literally just started, wrecking through the entire superhero community, the only way they were really able to crack his armor, so to speak, and do any real damage was for Jean Grey to split the mind of the Incredible Hulk and Bruce Banner into two separate beings so that the Incredible Hulk could just be unbridled rage without any kind of subconscious control from Bruce Banner. And so because of this, the Incredible Hulk was about as strong as he'd ever been up until his Worldbreaker form. But when he went to go punch Onslaught, he cracked his armor in the process. And so because of this, it allowed the heroes to basically try to dissipate Onslaught or try to kill him, which of course led into the Heroes Reborn storyline when Franklin Richards created a new universe and all that kind of crazy stuff. But again, this is really just an instance whereby the writers of this story, Jeff Loeb and Greg Pak, are grabbing some of the oldest Incredible Hulk content, all the way back to Peter David and even before when we talked about Joe Fixit, as well as including, some contemporary, some modern stuff with some of its most iconic incidents or most iconic roles in the Marvel Universe. But again, the other half of this is that we're dealing with, at least on the outside, we're dealing with all these different Hulks. Now, of course, you have like the Avengers Hulks that are fighting against Red Hulk and so on and so forth. Remember, that's what's happening right now in this particular moment. As this story goes on, we also have the other Hulks, the superhero Hulks, who are going against Red Hulk and so on and so forth. And so back on Earth, back in the normal world, we have, of course, A-Bomb Rick Jones, and we have Korg, again, another member of the Incredible Hulks Warbound, doing what they can to fend off these irradiated soldiers who are all basically Hulks. Now, try as they might, A-Bomb and Korg just aren't really able to pull this off on their own. Now, Scar is able to help, and he actually has a pretty huge impact here in a little while, but one of the funny things that we're going to find here is that none of these guys are a match for the overwhelming odds they're facing. The only person who can really stand against them is the Incredible Hulk. And what this was Jeff Loeb and Greg Pak setting the stage, saying Bruce Banner has to come back. The Incredible Hulk has to come back, not because he wants to, but because he has to. Because if he doesn't, the world will become Hulks and the intelligentsias will win. And so it's literally the Incredible Hulk being transformed into a one-man army. And when the Incredible Hulk comes back, oh my God, when the Incredible Hulk comes back, dude, it is a sight to behold. It's one of the coolest things. It's you could see it like a scene from a movie. Like we'll get to that in the next video. It's badass. Oh my God, it's so cool. Anyway, I can't wait for that. So anyway, back in Bruce Banner's, in his mind, again, this fake reality, he's actually visited by Dr. Doom. Now, this is really, really cool because what it tells us, what Greg Pak and Jeff Loeb tell us is that, yes, this is an illusion. Yes, these different members, these intelligent men who have been taken by the intelligentsia, yes, they're all sharing in the same kind of dreamscape, but not everyone is on board with this. Not only that, it really shows us just how smart Dr. Doom is. Now, this does not mean that Dr. Doom is smarter than Reed Richards or anybody else. He is to a degree, but again, he and Reed really alternate. What it means is that Dr. Doom was the one who was taken just before Bruce Banner. And so Doom hasn't really been converted entirely yet. Instead, he's still maintaining some recollection of himself. Now, when he sits down and he talks to Bruce Banner, he says, look, Reed Richards, T'Challa, Hank Pym, these guys have all been taken. Hank Pym is like the least intelligent out of all of us. But he says these guys have all been taken, and because of this, they're full on part of this system. The way they know that is because they're becoming less and less intelligent because they're doing long division. Now, long division is stupid. Long division is the dumbest thing in the world. Give me a hell yeah if you hate long division. Stone Cold Steve Austin, I love you, man. But it's just an indication. It's essentially Dr. Doom awakening Bruce Banner to the realism of the situation. They're not the smartest men in this whole place because they're effectively getting dumber and dumber. Now, what he says is that the longer they stay here, their intelligence is effectively being drained away by some giant organism in the sky, which is basically MODOK. MODOK is designed for the purpose of, at least in this dreamscape, supplying energy to the whole city, making sure everybody has everything they need. But in reality, this is the machine that their intelligence is being pulled into in order for the intelligentsia to eventually grasp. And so because of the fact that Dr. Doom is not as smart as he used to be, because he's not as intelligent as he used to be, he's not quite aware of the fact that he basically has magic. He's not quite aware of the fact of what it was that he was capable of. And so what he does is he sits down with Bruce Banner and says, hey, look, you need to take this gauntlet. You need to push the very fringes of this reality. You need to find a way to break through, and you need to wake up. Now, again, this is significant because of the fact that this is an instance where Bruce Banner is, again, the only one who can ever really save them. Now, of course, as he's studying this particular gauntlet, the program that he's in begins to kind of bring him back in. Because remember, he's basically walking towards this doorway. He's walking towards this exit. The program is designed to make sure no one leaves. And so it literally drags him back by having his son interrupt him in the middle of all this. Now, what this is kind of like this Inception moment, right? In in the sense that in the movie Inception, the idea for the general public, for the average viewer who went to go see it, the question was, is Leonardo DiCaprio dreaming or is he in the real world? And we saw the top spin and people were left to try to figure out on their own. But if you caught the very last moment before everything went to black, then you would know he's in the real world. And so it's kind of like Christopher Nolan's comparison to this, in the sense that it is this scenario where even if he's not in the real world, Bruce Banner doesn't care. He has the perfect life. He has exactly what it is that he wants. And this is something that he actually says to Dr. Doom. Dr. Doom shows up on his doorstep and says, hey, look, I know that you want to stay here. I know that you love this life that you're in, but this is not the real world. This is not the world that you're supposed to be in. Yes, Bruce Banner fixed the gauntlet. Yes, he made it work like it was supposed to. Yes, Dr. Doom was able to take the gauntlet, but Banner doesn't want to use it, because if he does, it means he's going to wake up from the truth of this reality. And when he wakes up from the truth of this reality, he's going to be faced with a life that he doesn't want. And so what happens is Doom says, hey man, sorry about your luck. You need to wake up. If you wake up, that means that I can wake up. It means we can go back to the life that we had before. Now, Doom does have his own ulterior motives, and we'll find out what those are. But in order to force Banner out of this dream that he's having, he basically grabs Banner's son and he transforms him into Scar. And the reason why he does this is he says, look, if your son will emerge as Scar, basically, if he'll come back, as this extremely powerful being, then he'll be able to destroy this reality. And if he's able to destroy it, we'll wake up, simply because it would cease to exist. Now, this is a big gamble. And the reason why is because their mind is angered to this. And so it's entirely possible that if Dr. Doom had destroyed this reality, their minds just would have been lost. They would have gone straight along with it. A really good example of this came during the Thanos quest storyline, I think it was, when Thanos was tracking down the Infinity Stones and he went against Grandmaster. And Grandmaster said, I will give you my stone only under the condition that you can defeat me in a game. And so what happened is Thanos ended up using an actual robot to basically go against Grandmaster. But when he went into the game, he basically destroyed the game inside of Grandmaster's mind. And so Grandmaster was essentially just trapped inside of his own body. He was trapped inside of his own mind. That's entirely what could have happened here. The problem with this is that as Betty Ross essentially steps in, and when Betty Ross is essentially able to take out Scar, effectively killing Bruce Banner's son as he perceives him, at the same time, in the real world, Dr. Doom yanks him out of his illusion. And so we basically have Bruce Banner back to reality. And this is where things go from bad to worse. And the reason for this is we would think under normal circumstances that Bruce Banner being back to reality would work, because it would be all the other members of the intelligentsia waking up, all the other members of the intelligentsia coming back to normal. The problem with this is that, again, the battle between Scar and all these guys, Scar, Red She-Hulk, the whole 9 yards, the battle between all of them is stretching into the holding cells of where the intelligentsia were keeping Banner and Doom and so on and so forth. And so once they get in there, Scar, without thinking, without paying any attention, attacks Red She-Hulk, stabs her through the back. And when he does, she essentially reverts back to her normal human form, which is revealed to be Betty Ross. And this is why I say the Incredible Hulk is going to come back, because Bruce Banner is looking at the woman that he thought was dead, because in his dream world, he had Betty Ross. In his mind, it was possible she was alive. He didn't know where she was. He didn't know who she was. He had no idea what was going on with her. All he knew was that she was alive. But in the dream world, he could hold her. He could touch her. She was there. And so it was guaranteed in his mind, and he didn't want to let it go. In this real world, Betty Ross is alive, and he's holding her in her arms. The problem is she's about to be not alive. She's about to be dead. And so this is effectively what we're getting ready to see is the return of Worldbreaker Hulk. And this is why I say shit gets real, son. Because the Incredible Hulk comes back in spectacular fashion. But if you guys are new here to Comics Explained, if you guys enjoyed this video, make sure you drop a like, and make sure you guys leave a comment below. Be sure to hit the sub button to become part of the Rob Corps. Don't forget about that. And yeah, if you guys want to see some more Incredible Hulk stuff, I'm not going to do it every day, I promise. I'm not going to bombard you guys with 10 Incredible Hulk videos in 1 week. Don't worry, relax. But if you guys want to see more Incredible Hulk stuff, maybe it'd be like every other day or twice a week or something like that. But leave a comment and let me know, and I will catch you all later. Peace.